Okay, let's talk about text and warping it. So we have a couple different ways we can do that. So let me just show you really quickly here a couple of them. So one, I'm going to take my type tool and I am just going to here. I'm just going to click. I'm not going to drag a text box because I'm not making a document that has big blocks of text. I just need to type one word or a couple words. So let's just say tool. Okay. If I use the black arrow now, I can grab the corners and make that big. If I hold Shift, it constrains the properties so it does not distort it. Of course, then after that moment, I have the option to adjust my character. I don't have anything showing at the top here, so I'm going to go to view and show that control bar. Control. Find this bar at the top. So again, that's your window and control. Just check that if you don't see it. It's helpful to have there. Pretty much the same as properties, but and then I can go in and select my text, go in my properties for my control bar, and I can just go to character settings, pick up any kind of font that I want. Let's say I want this one. The next thing I want to do is I want to work this, okay? Right now, I grab my corners. I don't have much power except for just to kind of change the scale. So the one thing I can do is I can go up to select the text and then go up to object and then go to envelope distort, and you have make with warp and make with mesh. You're going to want to do both of these or try both of these. I'm going to show you warp first. So warp will give you these predetermined choices. You can play along with those, or play around with those, push preview and see how they work and all that good stuff there. And you can see what happens is when it puts that warp on, it also does put what's called a mesh on top of it here. So if I say okay, I can go in, I'm going to go in with my direct select tool, and I can go in after the fact and I can, go in and tweak some of this stuff after the fact. Right? I'm going to command C. And instead, I'm going to try now selecting the text and then go into object, envelope distort, and this time go with mesh. Mesh will put this grid on your text. You can see here I have 4 rows and I have 4 columns. I'm actually going to take the columns down with maybe 2. Actually, I'm going to do my columns the same letters that are in the word. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters. So I'm going to go 6 columns and I'm going to take down my rows here. Just 3 rows and say okay. And you can see what that does is I have a grid here and I can go in and I can move individual anchors, I can move individual handles, and go through and just kind of distort the text like that, okay? Once you do that, it's important to know, if you look in your layers now, this is no longer text. This is now an envelope, okay? Here, this is an envelope that you created. It says envelope in the layers, and if you use your tool now, you see it sees it like this. So that you can no longer adjust that text as type kind of thing, right? It's now an envelope. Last thing to show you is once it's text. If you don't want to warp it, but maybe you just want to kind of do a couple things to the letters themselves as if they were shapes, you're going to say object, and you have a couple choices here. You can either say object expand, or you can go to type and create outlines. They really do pretty much exactly the same thing. Either way, if you push create outlines, you see what happens here. Now you can barely see that there is a blue path going around all of the letters because they are all shapes. If you look here, they are a group in your layers, and every letter is its own thing now. I'm going to undo that and just click this and say object expand, and you can see it does almost exactly the same thing. It just asks you, do you want to expand the object or the fill? I'm going to say both, expand, and you can see it's exactly the same point. I have like paths around there, and if I look at my layers, it's a group of shapes. And so if I select them, you can ungroup it, so object ungroup. And now if you look at the layers, they are all individual compound paths. And I can go into my white direct select arrow and I can remove individual anchors there. So you can do something like that with it. And again, just remember your type is no longer type now. Now your type is a shape. You can do that if you want to kind of just go in and grab multiple anchors. Once kind of thing. Okay, so that's those three different ways. That was object, envelope, distort, make with mesh, make with warp, and object expand or type create outlines. All of those will work to all these different